He was already late, gripping the small velvet box in his pocket as traffic crawled forward. Today was supposed to be perfect. The millionaire had planned every detail of the proposal, from the ring to the restaurant, convinced this was the fresh start he deserved. His past was behind him, or so he believed. Then, at a red light, his eyes drifted to the sidewalk and, his world quietly cracked. There she was, his ex, the woman he once loved and walked away from. She looked different now, tired but strong, holding the hand of a small child who laughed and tugged at her coat. For a moment, everything else faded. The noise, the cars, the future he thought he was building. His heart began to race as a question he never expected slammed into him with force. That child's eyes looked painfully familiar. Memories rushed back, arguments, misunderstandings, the breakup that ended without real closure. He had chased success, money, and status, believing love could wait. Now, standing just a few feet away from his car window, his past was no longer a memory. It was real, breathing, and holding a child that might change everything he thought he knew. The millionaire sat frozen, torn between stepping out of the car or driving away to keep his life intact. The ring in his pocket suddenly felt heavier than gold. Was this child truly his? And if it was, what did that mean for the proposal waiting at the end of the road? As the light turned green, he had seconds to decide: face the truth, or lose it forever. The car behind him honked, snapping him back to the present. He pressed the gas, but his hands were shaking. He told himself it was just a coincidence, that he was imagining things. Yet the image of the child's face stayed with him, following him through every turn of the road. By the time he parked near the restaurant, his excitement had turned into a tight knot of doubt. Years ago, when he and his ex were together, life had been simple but uncertain. He was still building his wealth, working late nights, chasing big dreams. She had wanted stability, honesty, and time. Their arguments often ended with silence instead of answers. When they finally separated, he left town for business, and they never spoke again. No final conversation, no clear ending. Now he wondered what he had missed. Had she tried to reach him? Had there been news he chose not to hear? The thought made his chest ache. He replayed old moments, searching for signs he might have ignored. A missed call, a message never opened, a goodbye that felt unfinished. Inside the restaurant, soft music played, and his phone buzzed with a message asking where he was. He stared at the screen, unable to reply. His mind was still on the street, on that brief glance that changed everything. The success he worked so hard for suddenly felt fragile, like it was built on something incomplete. Outside, the city moved on, unaware of the storm inside him. Somewhere not far away, his ex was living a life he knew nothing about, raising a child with a past he might be part of. As he sat there, caught between who he was and who he might have been, one question refused to leave him: what truth was waiting if he chose to look back? He excused himself from the table with a quiet apology, saying he needed air. The woman waiting for him watched with concern, unaware of the storm racing through his thoughts. Outside, the evening felt colder. He leaned against the wall and finally allowed himself to breathe, but it didn't help. The image of his ex and the child returned, clearer now, more demanding. Across town, his ex was struggling with worries of her own. Raising a child alone had never been part of her plan, yet she faced each day with quiet strength. She had learned to live without his name, without his support, and without the life he promised but never delivered. Seeing his car earlier had shaken her more than she wanted to admit. She told herself it didn't matter, but old feelings have a way of waking up. Back at the restaurant, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was a business partner reminding him how much this engagement meant for his future image. The proposal wasn't just about love. It was about reputation, trust, and the life he had carefully built. Walking away now could cost him everything he worked for. The conflict tightened around him. If the child was his, then the past wasn't buried. It was alive and needed answers. But seeking the truth could destroy the present he was standing in. He wondered if love and responsibility could exist beside ambition, or if he had already chosen his path long ago. Meanwhile, his ex held her child closer that night, sensing change in the air she couldn't explain. Two lives moved forward on separate roads, unknowingly pulled back toward the same unanswered truth, one that was growing harder to ignore with every passing hour. He couldn't focus on the proposal. Every detail of the evening, the music, the lights, the smiles around him, blurred into insignificance. His mind replayed the sight of the child's small hand in hers, the way the boy's laughter had echoed so familiarly. Each memory from the past collided with the present, leaving him restless and uncertain. He felt as though the life he carefully curated for success and love was teetering on a knife's edge. Driving back from the restaurant, he tried to convince himself it was impossible, that he had no right to interfere. Yet every red light, every passing pedestrian reminded him of what he might have lost. His heart raced, not from excitement, but from fear of facing truths he'd ignored, fear of confronting emotions he thought were long gone. At the same time, his ex was preparing for bed, brushing the child's hair back and tucking him in, unaware that her past was closer than she imagined. She glanced out the window, almost expecting to see him. Something in her gut told her that tonight might change everything, though she couldn't put a name to it yet. Back at his penthouse, the millionaire's mind refused to rest. The ring in his drawer felt heavier than ever, like a symbol of choices made too quickly, and a reminder that love sometimes doesn't follow a neat plan. He realized that by the morning, everything could shift the life he envisioned, the family he never knew, and the heart he thought he had moved on from. The city slept, but neither of them could. Two worlds were inching closer, each heartbeat counting down to a confrontation neither was fully prepared for, where secrets, responsibilities, and unspoken love would collide in ways neither could anticipate. Morning came with a gray sky, casting a quiet tension over the city. He sat by the window, the ring still in its box, untouched. His phone lit up with a message that froze him mid. It wasn't from the woman he planned to propose to, nor from a business contact. It was from a private number. Hesitant, he opened it. The text was simple, almost cruel in its clarity. Asterisk, you might want to come see this before you make any decisions. It's about your past. And your child. Asterisk, his heart skipped. His mind raced back to the street, to the laughter of that child, and to his ex's eyes. This wasn't just a coincidence anymore. Someone else knew, and worse, they were holding the power to expose him, to change everything he thought he controlled. Panic and curiosity collided, pulling him toward the truth he had tried to avoid. Meanwhile, across town, his ex noticed a familiar car parked near her block, one she hadn't seen in years. Fear and confusion mixed as she realized someone from the past had found them. She gripped the child's hand tighter, a protective instinct warning her that secrets she thought buried were resurfacing. The stakes shifted instantly. It was no longer just a question of confronting his feelings or deciding on a proposal. It was about protecting a family, facing consequences of past choices, and uncovering a truth that could ruin reputations, relationships, and dreams. Every moment from here on out would force him to choose between the life he meticulously built and the responsibilities he could no longer deny. The tension was unbearable. A single decision could ignite a chain of events that neither he nor his ex could stop. And as he stepped out of the car toward her street, the city seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the collision that could change everything. He reached her building, heart pounding so fiercely he could feel it in his throat. The city seemed unusually quiet, as if the streets themselves were holding their breath. He spotted her through the window, rocking the child gently, eyes widening when they met his. For a moment neither of them spoke. Years of unspoken words, regrets, and what-ifs hung heavy between them. I didn't know, he finally said, his voice barely more than a whisper. I didn't know it was him. Her eyes softened but stayed wary. It's been a long time, she said, but some truths don't stay hidden forever. She handed the child to him. The boy looked up, studying him with a curious intensity that made his chest ache. Everything rushed back, the love he thought he lost, the choices he made, and the responsibility he could no longer run from. He knelt, holding the child close. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of his decisions and the depth of his heart all at once. The proposal, the engagement, the life he meticulously built, they all paled in comparison to this. He realized ambition meant nothing without connection, without family. Just as relief and hope began to settle, a familiar ringtone shattered the quiet. His phone displayed a video call from the woman he was supposed to propose to. Hesitant, he answered and froze. The screen revealed a shocking sight. She was holding another child, identical to the first, with a small note that read, asterisk, meet your other child. Asterisk, breathless. He realized the truth. His past had more surprises than he could imagine. The life he thought he understood was